Hey everyone, John from ARTV. It's time for a review of the highly anticipated sophomore album by Australian singer Troye Sivan. This one's titled Bloom, and it has many songs about innocence and experience, leading me to question why you two had to steal those album titles when that would perfectly sum up the songs that are on here. Troye Sivan started out as a YouTuber, and obviously being from Australia, he went worldwide pretty quick with his fame. He uploaded covers, original music, and I remember getting into his music in the sense that I was introduced to it with the Tricks EP, and then I heard his debut album Blue Neighborhood. While I definitely appreciated the sentiments and the strides that it made, Troye being openly gay at this point, and him discussing themes that definitely supported the LGBTQ community, it was something that just didn't connect with me personally. I didn't feel like the music was there, and I just didn't feel like the songs felt like anything other than just kind of generic flutter, something that would fill the void of the space on the radio, with songs like Youth dominating for a short period in time, and I didn't feel like I would be particularly excited about new music from Troye, but all of that changed once I heard My. Sivan has been writing and recording songs for this album for years at this point, and it's nice to see that he definitely took his time, honing his craft and also evolving his sound. He's older now, and while he's telling tales of some things that happened to him as he grew up, as he sexually matured, he also tells us about other things through the refinement of his musical taste. And overall, this definitely is a much more danceable album, one that features more guitars, and also just more of a feeling, more of a mood overall, and that definitely lands for me as a listener. It feels much more engaging. This is a full-on pop effort, whereas before I felt like he was trying to dabble in this indie Tumblr scene that just wasn't working because it was already overcrowded. Here, he shifts into a different sonic lane, and I definitely applaud that. This is something that I'm enjoying a lot, just because not only does it explore genres such as synth pop, a little bit of alternative I suppose, but also just embracing the love of pop music and just how danceable, fun, and also conversational it can be. It just tackles a lot of different themes that I find to be really interesting, and the way that he just is able to express himself over the euphoric music, over the brooding music, over something that can be slow and fast at the same time, a little bit more low-key. It doesn't always work out to his advantage, but for the most part, it definitely does. While Sivan definitely has the help of outside co-writers on this album, I can't help but feel that overall his songwriting has matured. It's something where he writes songs that feel very tactful, very on the nose sometimes, but also sometimes just ambiguous enough to keep you guessing. It's fun to listen to, and it's also fun to kind of unpack some of the song's meanings, as I've seen some interviews with him where he sat down, talked about track by track what exactly the album means to him and what it could mean to the listener. I really feel like the singer's voice has improved too, as these songs feel more charming, more alluring, and also charismatic as a whole. It's something where you want to come back to these moments because not only are they fun musically, but also because he's offering up variety. Some of the harmonies that are done here, especially in the latter parts of the tracks, are phenomenal. They're things that are just little tweaks or maybe even a little key change that pops up, and it's something like that that sells me on the album. There's definitely songs that come to mind that feel a bit stale or else a bit safe, at least in terms of songwriting or maybe in the overall vibe or tone of the track, but there's not a ton of detractors that I just feel are glaringly standing out like a sore thumb. For the most part, this is a very smooth, cohesive ride. My was released in January of this year as the lead single, and The Good Side followed up shortly after it was debuted on SNL. I actually only heard My, Bloom, and Dance to this. I normally limit myself to 2 songs, but I ended up hearing 3 because I wasn't sure if everything was going to make the album, but My really impressed me upon first listen. It's something where I just clicked on it casually and thought, well, I wasn't into Blue Neighborhood, so this probably won't really resonate with me. Boy, was I wrong. This is an anthemic moment that just feels like gold. It's like pop ecstasy in the sense that yes, it's an earworm, but it also feels like there's more substance there. It puts a smile on your face when you listen, and it has positive messages radiating in the undertones. I really love that not only My, but many of the other songs on this album have a great presence of either keyboards, synthesizers, some guitars that are actually able to be heard in the mix, some real drumming that is actually fused together with some of the programmed drums that make much of this album feel like it has an 80s presence to it. It's just really nice and just smooth. Smooth is the word that comes to mind when I think of listening to this album because it's so easy to cycle over and over again. I really didn't care for the overall tone and presence of Dance to This featuring Ariana Grande at first. She's a pop superstar, of course, so I thought maybe these two colliding would be awesome. But still, even at this point, I feel underwhelmed. It could have been a lot more, and their voices, while they do sound pretty nice together, they're not the star of the show here, and I have to wonder why. As great as both of their voices are at this point, I just feel like the instrumental has more of the allure to it. It's something that it opens up with a nice little splice of guitar, a little splash of a synth, and it has a low-key melody throughout that is really nice and kind of entrancing. I find myself focusing on that more than the vocals. Even the chorus of this feels pretty lackluster, and it's just a shame because this isn't an awful song, but this could have been a great one. The album opens up and spreads its wings on a song that's not afraid to really go there and just talk about things. Sivan opens up on 17 about using Grindr to hook up with older men. And it's something that maybe he doesn't feel super positively about, but he also doesn't feel super negatively. And he lied about his age apparently when he was 17, as the title would imply, and he used that to go out with older guys. And it was an opening experience for him, sexually and just to the world at large. And these themes definitely occur on this song, but they're seen even more on the title track, Bloom, and both of these songs are amazing. 17 and Bloom are the best songs on this album. 17 explores those themes that I just talked about, but it also has a really nice, captivating guitar that's kind of mellow, but also very lush. It's rich in the harmonies that pop up too, and Troye sounds so fantastic here. It's like he's comfortable in his own skin, he's putting himself out there, and he wants the world to hear this, but also dance to this. Bloom radiates with a sensual energy that I really picked up on from the first few times that I listened. This premiered back in April, and honestly, I cannot stop coming back to this song. It's definitely one of the best things that Sivan has ever been a part of. I feel like his tone and the fact that this song is almost kind of bubblegummy but also fuses in guitars, layers the vocals, does some cool drum programming and other synthesizer things. It's just pleasing from all angles. The good side is an almost acoustic based take that really sees Sivan opening up about an ex-boyfriend. It's something where he sees this relationship as teaching him many things and he holds him in a positive light, and it's nice to see something like that. It's not beating anybody down, it's not tearing an ex apart. In fact, it's just meant to kind of say, hey, thank you for this. Thank you for these memories. Thank you for putting me to where I am at my life now. And the song is also really pleasing from the sense that it opens up on this nice little melody, and then it has a great outro that's kind of an extended instrumental thing. It's a great track overall, and honestly, the more you listen to it, the more you love it. Animal is definitely a great ode to the 80s. It's one that builds but also keeps to its minimalism, and it's just an all-out ode to love that talks about the animalistic tendencies that we all have and the way that we love so heavily sometimes. Then Lucky Strike, while kind of repetitive, not my favorite song on this album, I have to admit, it gets you tapping your feet and just kind of humming along. And then you've got a track like Plum that just feels maybe a little bit like it's out of gas, out of steam, I suppose. It talks about even the sweetest plum is something that isn't going to stay ripe and fresh forever. It's okay, but I just don't really feel like it moves the album forward, and it's one of the only components here that I feel is a little bit weaker. That and Dance to This. What a Heavenly Way to Die is certainly an entrancing song, one that feels oddly romantic, but also kind of like it's foreshadowing to something bad possibly happening. I think that this is a great song that really kind of knocks it out in the minimalistic part. It's something that doesn't try to do much, but it also doesn't need to do all that much to succeed. The only other song that I haven't mentioned at this point, of course I'm sure a lot of you are probably wondering my thoughts on it, is Postcard featuring the Australian singer Gordi. She assists Troye on this song, and I do feel like this one is actually something that stands out because it's more piano-centric, but it's also having this vibe that feels like it's cutting, and it also realizes that the other person in the relationship isn't always going to be perfect. The sophomore album Bloom by Troye Sivan definitely surprised me, especially after I didn't enjoy or really care for all that much Blue Neighborhood. This is an album that saw him fine-tuning and also excelling in the departments I felt like he was kind of lagging behind in the past. This album for me is getting a 4 out of 5. I want to know what you guys think. If you've heard the album, sound off in the comments section down below. There will be a link to stream it, and also don't forget to drop a like on the video while you're here and subscribe to the channel. Subscribing and turning on notifications ensures that you get all of my music-related videos in your feed every single week. Don't forget to subscribe to my second channel, Beyond ARTV 2. If you would like to help out with what I do on my channels, then please support me on Patreon by tapping this annotation in the corner, or see a couple of other recent videos I made that I think you'll like right there. Other than that, socials in the description, and I'll see you soon for more on ARTV.